Shout out Saint Uno, you know what I'm saying? What song is that called? I think that's Water Sign. Hey, yeah, the intro on his last tape, Armor of God, that shit, a classic, a classic. Welcome, welcome. We gonna jump right in again. Eventually, I had the music and everything playing, but we just jumping right in. Moon and Virgo, Sun and Taurus. Let's talk about it. So, finally, we got some greenery. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is like Earth energy. Like for the last couple transits and weeks, we've been dealing with a lot of like needing to stay focused and grounded while a lot of things was happening around us. Things are still happening. We still moving in different ways. But for instance, Mercury was in Aries, so there was points of contention. We had to kind of be stable throughout. Like our minds was moving a mile a minute. There's a lot of things we wanted to do, wanted to start, go to war about certain things. We might have expressed ourselves like we wanted to fight very aggressively. It's just, see, Mercury was kind of like I was talking in the last live. Mercury was behind the sun, so he was doing a lot of things with awareness, but maybe the way we was thinking about it wasn't up to par with where we're trying to go with things. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like a gift and curse to both things. When you're talking about the Mercury being behind the sun, the gift is, you know, you're aware of things before you're communicating and thinking about them. You're experiencing before you're communicating and thinking. So in a lot of ways, yeah, you're engaged in life. You are able to kind of move a lot more fluidly through experiences, but the negative end is you end up in situations where you're not as clear on what you want to communicate, what you want to say before you get in there. You know what I'm saying? So you be in a situation where it's like, damn, see, Mercury ahead of the sun, the gift is your mind is moving faster than your body, so you can kind of think and plan things out a little further ahead, and you can consider, think, analyze things. But the issue, the curse is that you're not aware yet. So what you again, you might say things that end up being mistakes later on. After you gain more awareness, you might try to overthink about something before you jump into it, so you miss out on the experience of it, or you create these unreal expectations and pressures on that circumstance. Or you know, there's many different things. This is my point. There's just many different ways it could play out both ways. But one of the things that was happening when the Mercury was in Aries was we again, our minds was in a much more aggressive state than our actions and awareness could keep up with. So we might have created situations of friction in ways that we wasn't even considering, you know what I'm saying? Because the mind was a little bit slower than what we was jumping into. Mercury is catching up. It's in the same sign now. So now our mind can level out a lot better. We can be a lot more clear and precise with matching actions with thoughts, words, and things like that. What we say now can become part of what we're trying to do, versus, you know, what you're saying is stuff that's a little bit less developed than your awareness currently. So it might cause a little confusion, if y'all understand what I'm saying. Now, Taurus in general. So let's talk about the moon being in Virgo. So the moon being in Virgo, it brings the vibe of Earth-like things both into play. Now the sun and the moon are entwined with each other. So there's a gift, a natural gift to understand energies regarding what they both share, which is earth energy. So okay, now when we think in practical, we have the emotional capacity to be in that same space. You know, when the moon is in, say, like, just, well, currently the moon is in 29 degrees Leo, right? But you know, the last couple of days the moon was in a different space, different element entirely than the sun, right? To the point of created a square, a learning process. There was things we wanted to express, be fiery about, that we had to think through and make sense out of. So you either did that energy in a positive way that led to you, you know, again, you express what you needed to express in order to learn what is real about that expression, the value of it, whether or not it has a place in your life or not. AKA, there might have been something you needed to get off your chest, right? Let's say you played that energy out. You wasn't afraid of this energy. You chose to act on it. And so when you participated with it, you got results that might have been difficult to go through, but you experienced enough to learn from what it is you put out there. You expressed stuff, you put stuff at center stage, and you got to see the reaction from it to understand and decipher, okay, yeah, this makes make sense in my life. I should keep this around. Or let's say you didn't do that. Let's say you chose to be, you know, timid about the energy. And even if you're not necessarily timid, but you just knew it wasn't the energy for you, so you didn't experience, you might not have learned anything. You might have kept certain expressions in that led to you still having questions now when the moon is in Virgo. So again, no right or wrong to anything, but you have to understand a couple things in life: who you are, but also who you are in relation to the goals that you have. You know, who you are, and sticking too much to that, holding on to your ego, can keep you from achieving certain things later on in life, just based upon you being too rigid and fixated in how you want to see the world, when the world is not just about you. You know what I'm saying? Like, the world is massive. It's vast. It's many different ways to go at it. The world is a collection of many different thoughts, feelings, and perspectives. If you're too lost into your own, you create a situation where you become isolated into your own world, which sometimes is beneficial. That's when you want to be in your creativity. That's how you get your creativity, your inspiration, your creative spark. But on the other end of that, you sometimes lose touch with the collective, what the world needs. Therefore, you might not feel like you have your place in the world, or what you do or express will come up short in context of the world. It's like, this person's closed-minded. This person, it hasn't seen enough to, you know, to reach the masses. You know what I'm saying? And as you know, artists understand this more than anybody, because the more we go through experiences and see life, the more, in even traveling to a degree, you start to understand, oh, the more I know about life and the more I experience, the more creativity I can, the easier it is, or the more tools I have to translate my internal world and make it look like external things that can remind people of what they know and they recognize. And that's how you relate. You know, that's how your art relates. It's like, if your art is filled with only things you understand, yeah, okay, you might have a very strong cult following. If that's what you're trying to do, cool. But if you're trying to be a world artist, you're trying to actually reach masses, gain influence, and do things, then you have to consider how you can translate that message, how you can take your inner world and make it look like things that relate to other people's inner worlds. You know what I'm saying? And these be the best the songs, I don't say the best songs, but the hit songs that, even, again, you might not even be, your song might not have the hit status traditionally or mainstream wise, but when people come across your song, it connects with them, and that's how you actually gain traction in that space. No matter how you look at it, you got to decide early on what you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Once you understand what you're trying to do, you become a lot more intentional. You could be a lot more intentional with your moves. You know what I'm saying? And that way, you become more versatile. You become more, you know what I'm saying? Not even versatile, but you become more specific. You know, you become more intentional. You become more, you know, it's like a precision thing. You know what I'm saying? You're able to hit your mark a lot easier the more you understand what your mark is. If you don't know what it is you're aiming for, you kind of just shooting in the wind, which is good sometimes, because being curious and just, you know, trying things out, some spirits are here for that more so than others. The ones that have been here for long enough to decide for themselves what they want, you know, they lead the lives that they want to live. But getting back on point to things, so the moon being in Virgo, energetic wise, it's about stability. It's about what makes sense, right? The moon, Virgo specifically, is about the mutable aspect of reality and what makes sense, practicality. So the combination with Taurus is, it's more of a relationship of course, like Taurus is that stable, steady process of something, the building of something, setting a foundation. So we've had to have extreme patience. We've been experiencing life slowing down. However, we're going to get into it, but you know, we have other energies in Taurus that's creating a stellium that's kind of putting a lot of pressure on Taurus. It's almost like we have to be slow, steady, but at the same time, kind of like I was even saying about Mercury being in Aries for so long, it's like we still had to deal with the pressure of things moving fast around us, everything kind of coming at us at once, And it's almost like the test is how focused can you be throughout the storm. Like everything is shaking, it's an earthquake, but how stable can you be while everything around you is shaking? How sturdy is your foundation? And that sturdy, how sturdy is your foundation is more of a, it's more like a question for yourself, a question to consider when it's like, okay, how can I take myself and what I want, right? What I'm trying to build for myself in this foundation, how can I still hold on to those pieces that I actually value in order to make this thing work? Now, Virgo comes in as a benefit, you know what I'm saying? Digging in the dirt today. Hey, that's what's up. Shout out Kane, the Hain Empress. Good stuff. Yep. That's the perfect energy for this time. You know, spending the digging in the dirt. That's kind of like the next point I was making about Virgo being energies of, it adds an extra emphasis or the gift to maintain that space. So what Virgo does is it comes in and it's the mutable earth. So it's there to tend to things, to fix, to improve. So we have this foundation that we've been building in Taurus that by now, right, like I was speaking about it being the third decan of Taurus, it's about maturity now. It's about that Capricorn attitude when it comes to the Taurus like things in your life. So in a sense, this is kind of like a trifold energy where if you hit it right, you can kind of tap into all three of the earth energies if you understand kind of how I'm going about it, right? So the Capricorn aspect added, that emphasis added to Taurus energy is you just being the boss of what it is you're trying to stabilize or create a foundation around, right? These things need to come rooted from your values. That needs to be the thing anchoring you with everything you do at this point. So, and think of Taurus, all earth energies really as investment. Like whenever we're going through earth transits, that's the key ingredient, investment. Like, what can I invest in? How am I going about investing this? And what I mean by that, like the quality of your investment. For instance, if you're into investing, you understand that the more you put in, the more you get out. Duh. But even if you're not into investing, you understand that principle, or you should. When you consider towards like earth energies, earth transits, it's about that to a T. The quality of your investment. If you put in a high investment, you get a high yield. If you choose to kind of, you know, say invest here, there, again, you get that small amount back. How frequently do you invest, and what are you investing? And that's kind of like going to the value of the thing you're investing. If you invest your time and attention, that's a lot more valuable than maybe investing. Well, it kind of depends on your situation, time or money. You know what I'm saying? It could be you needing to invest time or money, but it's kind of like, okay, if let's say, you know, that job you're going to, sometimes there'd be a situation where time off be more important than the money you might make. So if you have the opportunity to take some time off, okay, yeah, that might be the time to invest more attention. Like maybe that's more valuable in that sense to what you're trying to build. But then there's other times where straight up you need a steady job to bring a steady income so you can maintain your living situation, to have a place to do that, do that creative gift. So at that point it might make more sense to put more money into something. Or let's say you've already spent Aries season in doing the creative thing, so now you have all the creative things made already. It's about putting money into the marketing, or it's about putting money into this, that, and the third. So it makes more sense in that regard to spend more time at work, where time at work might be more valuable than the time off doing something creative. You feel me? And understanding that discipline, or that having that discernment to know where the investment is important, is highly, that's what earth transits are here to teach us. Because very quickly you realize with earth energy especially, you don't have the energy to do everything at once. Earth teaches you that, hey, things have to be done in pieces. Processes are important, you know what I'm saying? So if you can break things down into pieces, you get a lot more done. It's about execution as well. That's one of the key things about even especially like Capricorn energy. So it's like Capricorn isn't lazy, but Capricorn likes to be efficient. You know what I'm saying? Like saying they're really all earth signs to a degree, you know, except for Virgo. Virgo seems to always be on 10. You know, they need their time to rest and relax, but they seem to always be on 10. There's something about the Mercury aspect. It's like a natural caffeine creator within them, to where they can just get things done and they'll be operating on that speed. But especially with Taurus energy, one of the most powerful lessons you can learn from Taurus is that, hey, not only slow and steady, but the key to something is to take it step by step. She laughing, she a Virgo too. Yeah, because that's like, it's real shit. And I don't know what it is. My mom was a Virgo, so I seen it firsthand. I'm like, man, she don't stop. She just keep going and going. Okay, crazy. You know what I'm saying? Especially to me as a Pisces, I'd be like, bro, I need that time. Sometimes it's like a requirement to do the long route to something before I get there and do it, for whatever reason. Again, everything has its time, it's a time and place for everything. But it's about how you do it. And it goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. Like, I think that's kind of an overarching lesson for this current time period, is be very clear on what you're trying to do, because that's going to help you know where your attention needs to go, where your time needs to go, where your energy needs to go. Like, one thing I think I mentioned, I wanted to make a video about this, but about time management. That's a key thing to consider during these times, right? You can't really manage time though. I was watching a video and it brought up that point. You can't really manage time. Even the concept and principle of us all having the same 24 hours or the same amount of time to do stuff. The thing that you're really managing is your energy. There's times to rest, but if you don't get the proper, it's like there's time to rest, but then there's time to get up and work. Then there's time to do other things, like the things that uphold your life. Because again, like, think about it. You might break life down to, when I'm at work versus when I'm you resting, right? But you have to also consider the other things in your life that mean things, like family time, right? And again, you might not have a traditional family, but those people who keep you running, those people, that time and space, that even entertainment to a degree, resting is not the same as consuming entertainment. Consuming entertainment, you might do that with your significant other, but that's not quality time spent developing a relationship. Kind of like looking at cardinal points and understanding that, like, it really is a matter of, so within this scale of things, so many things you can do, right? We all have the same 24 hours, but the problem is not how much time we have, because a lot of people will start to develop the concept that, I don't have enough time in a day. Even me, I say that sometimes. It's not that. The thing is, we all have the same time every day, but you don't always have the same energy. So energy management is actually what people mean when they talk about time management. And I think earth energy helps you realize that, because like earth will literally tell you, like, I just don't have all the energy to do something. You know what I'm saying? That's what now fire sign might always have a certain energy and intensity that seems like they can just go on forever. That's their world. But there's also things that fire energy comes with that they can't do, or that leads to other problems. Because again, in that space, you might be doing too much and you don't get anything done. You don't actually make progress. You know what I'm saying? But that's like a different conversation. My point being, Earth teaches us that it's about energy management. She said Pisces, Virgos, while they sleep. Yeah, right. So they just wake up at the end. Yeah, basically. Exactly. When we go to sleep, we be working. That is the work. Going through the emotional world and digging out. I mean, that's honestly a lot of things. Like, you might wonder why Pisces would take a long time to do something. And a lot of times I've realized it's about Pisces getting into a emotional space in which they've kind of created the imagination around something before they do it. So that literally is them going into the dream world and doing work. But they just have to remember that has to translate into reality. You know what I'm saying? That's why they need each other. Because what Virgo can get hung up with is being too honed in on the details to the point where they miss the bigger point. Hold on. Let's say you building a house. You trying to build this whole house, right? And let's say you're on a time limit. Or maybe you're not on a time limit, but you're trying to build a house. Yeah, you can spend hella days on the color of the walls or the specific way a certain corner of the house is going to be, but if you spend too much time on that, you might lose the inspiration or the idea or the imagination of actual, like, the bigger picture. That's what kind of Pisces is. Like, the dream or the imagination is the bigger picture that creates the meaning and reasoning for us to even build the house in the first place. If we spend too much time on this tiny detail, we might miss out on the magic and inspiration of getting it done, or being in the essence of what called us to do it, which is like that God sense or that higher power. Because like when you start to develop vision and you start talking about Jupiter, and it starts to be like, oh, you know, God made, you know, God called me to do this type type shit. But you know what I'm saying, getting back to Virgo energy, though, or this combination of the moon and Virgo. So we're reacting to the details, you know, and what we've been looking at is what we've been trying to create stability in, or we've been trying to create a foundation around. And we've had assistance in this area, a little too much assistance, to the point where it might be a little too many people in one room. It's like we had Jupiter there, so we're trying to expand in this area. We're taking our security, safety, stability very serious at this moment, or not very serious, but we want to learn. We're either experiencing it, so we're engaged and we're trying to expand, or we've been trying to run away from it. Our current situation, circumstance feels like a cage, and so now we're kind of hell-bent on working our way out of it. So that's going to determine the type of process that you're going through at the moment. Like, you're either in a process of trying to take what you can in that space and set a foundation, or you're realizing you've entrapped yourself in a circumstance and you're working your way out of that hole to start a new foundation on clean land, right? So no matter which side you're on, that's the still thing. You have to go through the process. Up until this point, there's been a lot of room for mistakes, but less important than the mistakes were you being an individual with the things you value, aka were you choosing to take the practical steps and creating some kind of foundation or pathway to walk and act towards, when it comes to the things that you, because coming off of that Aries energy, it was all about, you know, this new self and that identity, right? That had to turn into what your new self chooses to value. So if you made that decision in enough time, by this time around, again, you're very familiar with that, to the point where the sun is closer to Uranus, and Uranus is kind of like the overarching energy that has been dominating this space. So changes are necessary, a rebellion and opposition is necessary to set a new foundation, and it has to be rooted in individuality. If it's rooted in anything other than you trying to be an individual in that space, you're missing the point. If you're trying to please others, you're going to create more instability than stability, more insecurity than security, more you know, things that don't make sense, aka you being in a place, location, it could be anything, being with a person in a place, or dealing with a thing that doesn't actually add to you creating that foundation for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's a very clear indicator that, okay, I've been investing time in the wrong area. I've been spending too much energy, too much attention, time, whatever it is, in this area, and it's leading me towards this. I must not be aligned with what I value. I must not be in touch or in sync with what I need to be stable, or what I, yeah, it's really value. You know, so I could end it right there. It's about value more than anything, right? So if it's about value, you understand that, okay, so Virgo comes in, we're reacting or responding in a way where you might become a bit more worried. But the thing about this worried energy, you could be on either side. On the positive end, this worry energy will be attached to something you've already been working at. So let's say, again, you took this Taurus energy, how you're supposed to do, you invested in what you value. By this point, again, you more in a Capricorn position in relation to deacon wise, in relation to this Taurus energy. So that means that if you've been doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you've been planting the right seeds, hey, it might not be perfect, but you've already invested a certain amount of time in this process to be able to see some result. And that result ain't gonna look like the end all be all, but you can start, you can say like, no, I took my time in the dirt. I planted that seed. I made sure that seed had a sufficient space in the ground. I made sure it had sufficient water, sufficient sunlight, attention. I know that this seed is going to become something, and I've been experiencing and learning and expanding in this area, right? Virgo will come along and add worry. That's more so about adjusting and adapting and creating more of that good energy You know, it's kind of like Virgo would be in a space to worry enough to consider the good and add more of the good and get rid of more of the bad. Virgo is very good with discipline in the sense of understanding that, hey, everything leads to another. Like Virgos are good at understanding, hey, if you do this, 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 and this in a pattern for long enough, a routine, it'll lead to this. If you don't do this or you choose to do something else, it'll lead to this pattern and that routine, and that won't make sense. That's why Virgos seem critical and seem harsh, but they're really just saying like, yo, I literally have seen the future and I'm trying to get your ass to not make the mistake of what that action is literally going to make. They're like, it's one of the greatest gifts. But see, if you haven't been doing what you do, let's say you're on the other end, you've been planting bad seeds, you haven't been taking what you value serious enough to sit down with it, and you haven't been patient. Let's say you've been rushing things, or you've been, and see, to be in the rush frequency during Taurus creates, this is where you get scammer energy, cheap energy, things that don't actually stand the test of time because it's trying to be quick. It's trying to do this. It's taking shortcuts. When you're trying to take shortcuts, the quality deteriorates. And that's literally what Earth energy is all about. You know what I'm saying? You said the Cassandra complex. Wow, I don't even know who that is and what that is. I gotta Google that, or you know what I'm saying, if you want to tell the chat. That's crazy. But yeah, exactly, Cassandra. I don't know what that's from. But it's funny because yeah, the quality, that's the point. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to Taurus energy, it's like it's all about the quality. And if you don't take the proper time and energy into something, the quality just won't be there. And you know, even if it's where Greek mythology, look her up. Yeah, okay, bet, I will for sure. And you said it was just like what I was talking about. So I guess that's the essence of the story. I gotta just read the details. But you know, when it comes to that, like, there's a reason why Taurus is here when we talk about the zodiac. Like, there's a reason why Taurus comes out of after Aries. You know what I'm saying? And part of that is to tighten the quality up, to make the quality something more, you know, again, to be able to make it stable, so that when we do put things up in the air, it has something to land on. You know what I'm saying? It's like the sequence was here for a reason. So even in your life, as you go through these different seasons, you're going to see that, hey, if you have a dream, a goal that you're trying to reach, or a dream you're trying to do, then you have to consider the fact that, boom, okay, if you try to go against nature, it's going to make it more difficult for you in the long run. That's why astrology is a powerful tool. It's not everything. It's not, again, you could be completely oblivious to this, but and still come out all right. You know what I'm saying? That's not the point. But if you are aware of these tools, then why not use them to make your life a little bit easier, even though it's not making shit easier, really. It's just giving you you know what I'm saying? It's showing you what could keep you on track with nature, the natural movement of things. Riding the wave is a matter of understanding and surrendering rather than trying to control. Like, people who see astrology as a tool to control their life, that's when you start to get into the weird shit. That's when you start to get to the shit that's like fantasy land, like, oh, you know, this sign and this sign compatibility, and stuff that sound like pop culture, that you could tell, because that's all the demon world care about is, oh, how can I use astrology to control this, make more money, be with this person that don't know I exist, all this fantasy land bullshit. And that's where money is. That's why you can see people charging people $3,000 for a reading, because they're hooked on that whole fantasy land. How can I control my life with this? The real teachers will teach you that astrology ain't helping you control shit. It's just giving you the tools to ride the wave, so that you know, okay, I won't try to run to the left when the wind is blowing to the right today. I need to figure out how I can use the wind blowing to the right in order to be in the right flow to catch things that I might be unaware of, me just trying to do things my own way. It's helping you get out your own way. It's helping you put your ego aside to expand further into to what we all experience. Again, nature, you know what I'm saying, and being more in that all possibility space where now you're not honed in on the expectation. Like, you know, that's why spirituality is not astrology. You can know astrology, but not be spiritual at all. And they're two different fields. You know what I'm saying? But people with spiritual acumen are able to utilize astrology a lot harder than people. Same thing with religion. If you're spiritual, you can jump in any religion. Say you just like the way Christianity goes. If you just like that religious system, you could be a cold motherfucker in that space because you're spiritual. You know how to utilize that energy, or that template, I should say. You know how to utilize that template for how you want to live life. That's the point. You know what I'm saying? It's not about like this is better. You know what I'm saying? It's like, honestly, the best thing you could do is be in that space. You know what I'm saying? Where when you're flowing. You know what I'm saying? Shout out y'all, y'all of Don. You know I said that wrong probably, but yeah, real shit. So getting back to this earth energy, like when we're talking about, Virgo comes in, and see, this is like that quarter point too. When we talk about I like to say that during a moon cycle, it's cut into 4 quadrants, just like the seasons. You know what I'm saying? Where you have the springtime, which is that new moon, up into that quarter point, where now it's about taking what we've, just like in the springtime, you're supposed to spark new things in order to have more information to now, okay, now I can double down on this, I can cut this out, I can be fixated on that next part. And that's what we're going through right now. This is all part of us planting the seeds for what we're finna double down on during the summer. Now, when we talk about this quarter point, right? So it was a new moon in what energy? It was a new moon in Taurus. So that new moon in Taurus then led us to this first quarter point, was technically the moon in Leo. But being that the full moon is in Virgo, I like to consider these both signs as the middle point, because it's a transition. It's like what might started as a friction, right, up in the first quarter. So what started as a friction, aka Leo, the moon in Leo, and hell yeah, shout out Dolo. You know what I'm saying? Shout out let's say Foster, the Faust. I ain't even gonna try to say your name, bro. I ain't gonna Fast. Oh yeah, Fast. Yeah, Fast. Shout out Fast. Yeah. Shout out to Dolo. Hell yeah. But what starts to what starts to hit the quarter point, right, is that's that moon in Leo, Sun in Taurus. So that square, what starts as that friction becomes the trine, becomes the gift of what you can start to understand and take to double down on things. That becomes what the next energy is finna be, which is usually, again, it's normally going to be a trine with where the full moon is going to be at. You know what I'm saying? It's a trine with the full moon is going to be at. So the full moon, we know, is going to be not a trine. Hold on, I didn't mean to say that. I'm all distracted trying to read comments at the same time. But shout out to y'all. But when it comes to that quarter point, it's usually that first sign is that square, but whatever the full moon is going to be, usually it's going to be a square with the full moon, but it's usually a trine with the where we started at. That's what I mean. So if y'all following what I'm saying, because I know that's a little confusing, it's like when we hit the quarter mark, it's a square where the sun is currently at, but that's where the new moon started. So from that point, we have a lot of lessons learned based upon what we chosen to get out and experience, right? Boom, 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 boom. But what then it becomes, right, when it hits the next sign, it's a square with the full moon. So it becomes, in future terms, what we need to learn and adjust in order to have a satisfactory full moon experience. To be satisfied in that space, that becomes what it's like on our mind, but it's like the friction that hasn't come yet. So if you're a wise individual, you'll start to prepare yourself by making those frustrating adjustments early in order to set yourself up for a full moon experience that's satisfactory. If you follow what I'm saying. What's happening on the other end is, yeah, it starts out as a square, so it becomes a difficult moment from what you planted seeds with, where you could literally look at yourself and say, okay, damn, what has been working, what hasn't been working. This is cool, I'm on track. This is not working. I need to fix this. That's that frustration that comes with that square, because the sun is still in that new moon space. Now, when it transitions, I think normally it's going to be a trine. I believe normally it's going to be a trine when it hits that next space. That next moon cycle is a trine where the sun is at, right? So there's a gift in the present to create a somewhat of a harmony between the two energies that can help with setting yourself up for success later on. If y'all, like, I know that's confusing a little bit, but if y'all in that space and y'all can see what I mean, that right there is one of the coldest things I observe from just dealing with the moon cycles, and why I think that, just like you're aware of the day-to-day transit, you need to really, the moon cycles help you understand these pockets. You know what I'm saying? It helps you understand, like, oh, like, it helps you take life and kind of make it a different kind of process. That's all I can say. But so it's, what I'm saying, jumping into this energy again. So what we're learning as a gift now is, what adjustments can we make to our process that are helping us build that foundation, ensuring that we have a satisfaction energy when it comes to the full moon coming up, right? So we went through the frustration, which was Leo, which should have showed you again, when the moon is in Leo, part of what we need to be reacting and responding to is what's getting attention, what can get attention, center stage things. It's a good time to express what's inside, right? But we know that expression was up for whatever you expressed opened itself up for ridicule, because the sun was right there and creating that friction. So we knew, okay, whatever it is that you did express had the potential to create that friction, to be you literally experiencing, learning whether or not what you expressed had value or not. And and it's not really so much a cut dry yes or no, but it showed you, okay, what you expressed, is it backed and supported by what you value? Because for anything to have value, you have to give it value first. You feel me? So if you don't give it value, if it's not something that's important to you, the question becomes, well, why did you express it? Then that's when you start to answer some of those harder questions internally, that you're like, wait a minute, what I've been putting on certain center stage of my life, does that actually even matter to me? And if I'm experiencing things, I'm trying to transform, or I'm trying to expand, I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to reach a certain goal, I'm trying to achieve a dream. If I'm giving attention and expressing things that don't align with what I value, that's the reason why I'm probably experiencing resistance. That's the reason why I'm probably experiencing more than I feel like I need to or deserve. You know what I'm saying? Lessons from that, what you learn from that, can turn into you now, moon in Virgo. Okay, let's break down the details then. Let's start to make sense out of what I thought I needed to put on center stage, or what I've been giving attention to. And giving attention, I don't mean external people. I mean thoughts and feelings within you. There might be a certain aspect of your pride you've been giving way too much credence to, and now you use it thinking it's defending you or part of who you are, but it's really just creating more resistance between what you're trying to achieve or manifest in your life. So you have to cut that off. You have to see that as something that it can't go with you into this next phase of life. That's no longer something that you need to keep entertaining. That's no longer something that you should be trying to keep attached to you. That can't be you. These things aren't you. So why are you developing this unhealthy attachment to it? Probably because of trauma. Probably because of something you're not admitting to yourself, something you're not, considering, that is kind of holding you back. You know what I'm saying? So many things. And see, right now, that's the thing. The sun is next to Uranus. It's about radical change, but doing it in a way that makes sense and is correlated to your values, and in a way that and again, it's for the sake of what Jupiter got going on. Jupiter wanting to expand, Jupiter being able to learn, Jupiter experiencing it. So yeah, wherever house you have Taurus in, the experience itself is what's kind of fueling and motivating you to be more specific about you as an individual and what you value, you as an individual and what you stand on and what you need to rebel and oppose against. You know what I'm saying? But in that rebellion and things like that, it's kind of like a dance. Venus is there, which is kind of actually, in a lot of ways, it's making things more complex, but it's also helping in a way. It's making it complex because Venus is what we love, appreciate, and value. So there's a lot of things in that energy that you might see that you now have to oppose that you once valued or that you still appreciate. You have to decide now, though, are those old things still parts of me that or things I want to keep upholding? That's where the confusion comes. You have what you appreciate, but something else is like what you appreciate is what you also have to rebel against. What you are, what defines you as an individual is at odds with, something that you might have to change. You identify with this thing, but you have to change it as well. You have to update it. You know what I'm saying? You have to update the process. You have to update the goal, the dream, whatever. Again, seeing the different houses you have Taurus's energy in, you understand like, damn, okay, that's the area in life I got to do that from. Now, when it comes to this Virgo energy, it's really just helping you put all the details on the table. Okay, you know what I'm saying? This routine can lead here. This routine can lead there. That's why I said it's important right now for you to just really know what it is you want to build for yourself. And again, what security really means to you and what value means to you. It might not look like you have the pieces yet. And that's the frustrating part too about Earth transits. It never really feel like you have all the pieces. It might feel like, there's times in which you do have the resources and you do have the pieces, but a lot of times it feels like you don't quite have everything. But that's kind of more so of a mental thing, a delusion you might be under. Again, because it's more so about what you have in the present anyway, because what you have is what you have. Now, if you understand that there's other things you want to get, you know what to invest your time, energy, attention into to get it. Or at least you should spend the transit learning more about what you should invest in and what you shouldn't. Virgo, though, is helping you be a little more strict, be a little more critical about how you go about utilizing that time. That's how you kind of ride the wave in a way that can start to look like you planting good seeds. It's a gift, though. So it's going to make you worry, but that worry needs to be used towards productivity. Worry about how you can fix something. Don't worry about why you ain't got it yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I don't have $1 million yet. Don't worry about that fact. Don't make that the problem. Instead, worry about, okay, if I want to get to that $5 million, or I want to get to that money, what can I adjust? What do I need to start to fix? What can I worry about in that I can look at and fix that can turn into me getting closer to that goal or getting on the path to bring that to me? You know what I'm saying? Because it's always something you need to bring to you. Second you try to go out and chase something, that's the second you lose yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that's the last thing you really want to do, especially when, again, energies like this are literally being presented to you to actually be able to make progress. You know what I'm saying? Now, this energy, the moon in Virgo, is opposite Saturn and Pisces. So how we feel about our situation or circumstance, it's kind of a not the worst energy in the world, because it's like how we're feeling uncomfortable with reality. But hopefully that uncomfortability is motivating you to do more things that can help you organize your life and create more create more stability in it. Look at that opposition as, yeah, you're supposed to feel a little uncomfortable about you know your reality if that dream hasn't developed for you yet. If you haven't built it yet, it's okay to feel a little like you got work to do, because you got work to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why it's kind of a good energy in alignment with the sun, because the sun already knows that. The sun already got us head down, working, process, boom. You know what I'm saying? And again, it could be frustrating for especially like water and fire signs in general, just about how much practicality might have to go into this current time, how much you might actually have to try to plan out your day, you know what I'm saying, in terms of making sure you get certain key things off the list done. But if you approach it with the right attitude, you'll understand that these are the very same things that's going to enhance your dream. You know what I'm saying? From all the Taurus energy, it's a sextile with Saturn. So again, there's an opportunity here. If you can see that opportunity and you can stay focused on and commit to that opportunity, right, and putting in the work to get there, the moon's discomfort with Saturn should motivate you even harder to make even more of a balance, to say, okay, well, see, if I adjust these things, I can probably end up being more comfortable with my dream, right? That turns into the moon going into or no, not yet, but yeah, or yeah, let's talk about it. I like to introduce the next sign. Moon, when the moon goes into Libra, right, then this is going to be you having the proper you basically cleaning up so well that now you have the confidence to create relationships in areas regarding your dreams or what it is you're trying to build. You know what I'm saying? It's like the Libra energy in conjunct Saturn, but that's kind of like how, say you got a goal but you're working with a team members have different ways of seeing how to get to that goal. And if you're an intelligent leader, you'll always leave room for somebody to show you something else, for someone to suggest something. It's like one thing I experienced, because I shoot films, and film is a very team-based thing. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have a team, right? I mean, you could do it by yourself, but you gotta have a team. But one of the things I learned as a director is or one things I love as a director is when, either say I'm working with an actor or something like that, when they have a take on how to play the character and they suggest it to me, because a lot of times you have your own fixated idea, but it be the idea of another person seeing it from a whole different perspective that opens your that a lot of times can enhance something. Can't listen to everybody, but what I've experienced, I like having people around me who suggest things. Like, I would never be the type of person who would shut everybody down just for the sake of my vision or my ego, because that a lot of times that's what that it'd be other people's suggestions that enhance things, right? That's what Libra energy kind of teaches you. But so in terms of this, if you've already built the foundation and you've gone in and kind of cleaned up the details, your clarity, it's like almost like that clarity will prevent you from having to go overboard ego wise for when you are in a conversation with somebody else who suggests something else. You know what I'm saying? If you're clear on your vision, or at least have enough confidence to do it in the first place, it should be no reason why somebody else's suggestion on how to improve something should threaten your ego. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes people really be insecure about their own creativity and stuff like that, and their own abilities. Some people don't even trust them, their own self in something, so they, you know, it becomes other people's problems. It becomes them, nah, I can't consider that idea. Nah, it's got to be my idea. It's got to be my way. Sometimes that makes things great. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a moderation thing. But, you know, in this case, though, for what's going on in these seasons, again, it's like the moon going in Libra, reacting and responding to relationships and building what you can build for yourself right now, right? By taking it serious, breaking it down piece by piece, seeing the details, polishing it. That'll help you be able to maintain better balance with somebody else, versus if you didn't take the time to get more precise and clean things up, which you might think is a good idea or think is this or that, it might turn into something that is more ego driven in a time. So you might want to double down on, say, Aries energy, and you might make mistakes trying to still be an individual when we need to be more willing to kind of balance with others. You know what I'm saying? You need to be more able to communicate at least what it is that what it is you trying to do, what it is you trying to, you know what I'm saying, in terms of even as you're building. Because see, part of this process that we're going through right now, Taurus is still a very internal sign, but we're fixing to get into Gemini energy. And I think by the time we get into Gemini energy, the moon, I think that's actually, yeah, well, nah, because, well, yeah, shit, it might be. Because we 25 degrees now of Taurus. Consider 2 days, right, will be in 27 degrees Taurus. So that'll be cuspy in general, right? And I think Virgo a slightly larger space, so it might be a third day. A third day, you know what I'm saying, or a half day that creates yeah, because the moon moves to a half day, so it should be like another half day that creates that space. So it might look like, yeah, so we're gonna be in that cuspy energy while the moon is in Libra, meaning that if you're kind of, again, if you on pace, you can start to transform that rigid Taurus energy that's more internal into, okay, let me start to communicate about what I've been planting seeds in. You know what I'm saying? And that'll be, if you understand astrology as progression, that'll be a opportunity that's dependent on what you chose to do in Aries season. So if you did your thing in Aries season, you was expressing, you was being yourself, authentic, genuine, here's an opportunity that you can now take where you can now start to communicate about what it is you sparked off. And if you did the Taurus energy right, you have gone through the experiences of digging and planting that seed that's going to make people value what you have to say. Because now what you have to say has grounding. It has reality to it. Oh, we actually seen you do that spark, and now you got all the details in between to fill in the information to make it real, to make us say, oh, we believe you now. You know what I'm saying? But that's kind of talking ahead of things. Now, the moon in Virgo, it's also trying it. So it's trying in Jupiter. So again, being comfortable with our experiences enough to take it serious. Being comfortable with your experience enough to know that, okay, it's almost like you have the gift to be real about what it is you've been experiencing, and be honest and be critical. Don't lie to yourself right now. Being a lot more critical about what it is that you've been doing right towards expansion versus what's old and keeping you kind of locked in a cage. That's right there what you need to be kind of considering. You got to be extremely real with yourself right now. And there's enough earth in the sky for us to do that without being too emotionally charged or engaged. You could do that a lot more, like, again, practically making sense out of what it is you're actually, you know what I'm saying, making sense out of what you've been learning, making sense out of what you've been experiencing. Moon being trying Uranus is the gift to be an individual. So these adjustments and changes you're making is more so based upon you, not anybody else. And that's powerful. You again, you're making adjustments and changes based upon your individuality, you being more of an individual, you being more of yourself. That's not a bad thing to tap into, you know, and you're feeling more comfortable to do that instead of feeling the pressure of everybody else, what everybody wants you to do, what everybody wants you to be. That's, you know, again, that'll steer you right off your path. And right now we need to double down on individuality, and that needs to be the driving force of what we value. Now, moon trine Venus, so comfortable also with what we love, appreciate, and value. You can, again, your values in general. Venus is home, so our values are a very strong key player right now, what we value. So right now, being in like the gift to have the emotional connection to it, you know, don't let that lead you to being too much into what feels good. You know what I'm saying? Still keep on par in your mind. It's kind of it's positive in a sense because it makes you willing to make changes for the sake of what you value. So if you got your eyes on a prize, it'll help you make more mature decisions towards, or more practical decisions towards, what you might need to cut out, what you might need to do more of, things like that. The negative end, though, if you're kind of still in that delusion space, you still kind of dealing with certain things that you're not ready to be honest about, this could be you justifying that and making that make sense, making whatever you like make more sense than trying to balance it with, you know, what needs to be done. So, you know what I'm saying, it kind of might throw you off a little bit. It's not all good, you know what I'm saying? But if you in a space where you're ready to be honest and critical with yourself, okay, boom, it'll lead you to be like a lot more, okay, yeah, I need to cut this out, or, you know. So just have your eyes on the prize. Just don't get too caught up in just wanting to feel good, because that's the thing. Venus in Taurus can start to make you justify or make sense out of a pleasure, rather than understanding like you got to deal with that pleasure when it's time to, like, it's almost like let's say you like candy, right? And when you was a kid, you know, of course, you couldn't have candy all the time. But say you an adult now, so you got the money to afford to eat candy every day. So because you like candy though, that don't mean spend all your money on candy. Like, it, you know what I'm saying? You're an adult, so you can do what you want. But just because you like something, you know you're not supposed to just go overboard on it. You know what I'm saying? Now, a healthy, higher octave individual will be like, okay, yeah, duh, I'll do it in moderation. But, you know, if you're attached to that candy and say that candy is something you value, say, you know what I'm saying, it becomes something that takes over your world, takes over your life, you'll double down on that. And just because you can afford it, you'll think it's okay to do, so you'll keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, to the point where it starts to control you. So don't have your pleasures or what you appreciate control you right now. This is where, again, Venus conjunct Uranus comes into play, where Uranus is low-key having to kind of like remind you with like a slap on the wrist, like, hey, you know, you might have to rebel against that same thing that you love, you know what I'm saying? Because it might start to get in the way of Jupiter expansion. I even think he said, nah, he don't. What up, Morning Wood? You know what I'm saying? When it comes to that shit, it's like it'll keep you on track to be like, okay, you know, or like I was saying, it'll keep you, you know, say don't get caught up in that trap of just justifying something because it feel good. Individuality gang. Word up, you know what I'm saying? Appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Hell yeah, we all respect individuals. That's what's up. Is it just me stroking it medium pace to this, man? Leon says, okay, you know, some weird stuff. But um when it comes to the Taurus energy, Uranus in there, again, rebelling and opposing against those same pleasures, desires, and stuff like that, that get in the way of you expanding into a new space, that get in the way of you seeing something new, getting into a new, you know what I'm saying, getting into a new level. All these things kind of come into play. This is where that stellium kind of takes place, because when the stellium at first, there's a lot of benefits that come from that because it's a hyper focus on that energy. But anything we hyper focus on, it's like it starts to become too much, where certain lines can get crossed by you being too comfortable in that one space. Again, you start to think you can justify everything, that you make it make sense, even though that's the very same thing keeping you from, again, expansion, learning new things, seeing new things. And it's keeping you away from your authenticity too. It's keeping you away from your individuality, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Boom. Now, you know, instead of being an individual, you are controlled by that thing that you love, or you're controlled by that thing that you appreciate. But see, the moon being here though, it opens up an opportunity for, when it comes to the earth energy in general, it's like emotionally though, we can be in a space that can have a little bit more patience, be a little more practical, be a little more engaged with the reality of what we're actually going through in the present. That's kind of like what the moon did do as a positive thing moving into Virgo, you know. But again, it can put you on the worrying end if you haven't been doing what you're supposed to do in this area. Now, I already talked about the moon opposite Saturn, moon opposite Neptune as well. So when it comes to dreams in general, self-doubt, again, don't start to worry about the wrong things. You know what I'm saying? That could be you worrying about the wrong things. You worried about figments of your imagination, just because your moon is or the moon in the sky is opposite where Neptune is at. So Neptune dealing with dreams, imaginations in general. Your dreams and imaginations, you could be looking at it with too harsh of a lens, too real, you know what I'm saying? Real, and starting like real in the wrong sense. Like, you've been already in the process, so you're gonna get there eventually. But again, you might not see certain things coming at a certain time or a certain place, or, you know, or from, you know, at a certain time from a certain place, person, or something. And it's gonna make you kind of be like, oh, I'm worried about my dreams. But what you actually worried about is something you created in your own mind. So don't create your own boogeyman right now. Moon and Virgo is also in conjunct Chiron, so we misunderstand maybe where we went wrong with certain mistakes. Take that in conjunction as something you can adjust and learn more about. Don't just kind of write it off and you know, just choose to worry. You know what I'm saying? Take that take the time, because when an in conjunction hits you, you're not always going to know what it means, but that's one of those gates that you can open and learn a lot more about what it is you actually going through. You know what I'm saying? So jump in that energy and be like, okay, boom, let me adjust this, let me adjust that, keep on track. You know what I'm saying? And the mistakes will be in the area of being too much of an individual, being too selfish. So again, selfish, there's a thing going on where we have to consider ourselves and our values and be an individual in that space, but it's not about being too self-absorbed. You know what I'm saying? We still need to also remember that even though you might value certain things, what you value isn't always law. You know what I'm saying? It could be what you want and it can be your standard. It could be your boundary, but that don't mean that everybody got to abide to that. And you got to allow people their own space to decide whether or not they want to be a part of your world or not. You can't just expect everybody got to bow down to my boundaries, or no, you have to also be open and willing for that person to decide that that's not what they want to experience either. And again, it's deeper than just a person. It's like things too. There might be things you want in your life that you just can't have right now because of where you're going and what you're trying to build for yourself. Addiction and things like that. Like you might be dealing with something you're addicted to. Look, that can't go with you to this next place. So it's like you got to decide from there. How much do you value yourself? Or are you going to let that thing that you value too much to destroy you, in the sense of making it something you're putting in the front of you before, that's preventing you from expansion, that's preventing you from even, again, that you got to rebel that. You know what I'm saying? So that's something to consider. And that is only if you can't figure out how to make it work. Well, the addiction thing, like that, what you got to get rid of. But when it comes to people, right, let's say, Jupiter is there. So there's an element of needing to learn the things that's currently in our present right now. So it's a need to, or a gift in and of itself, to learn more about it. Don't, not just write it off. Even boundaries of your own. You might have certain boundaries, right? But let's say you come into an experience or learn new information that actually show you that what you might have set a boundary on is actually not where you want to set that boundary, but something that was keeping you safe into a smaller space. But here, there might be room to expand that boundary. Again, you still being true to you, but there might be room to expand that boundary into a different space to give you more room to experience and be who you are supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Boundaries are important, but just like boundaries can keep things out, it can keep things from in too. It's like that boundary can keep you restricted, so don't forget that either. Now, moon also in conjunct, so Mercury is 0 degrees, and so yes sir, Mercury is also 0 degrees, right, in Taurus. So again, I already kind of talked about that in the last live. Mercury is trying to make sense out of certain things. Mercury is trying to, instead of being so fast paced and all over the place, Mercury's trying to make more sense, be more calculated, be more rooted in something real. So Mercury, the way we even supposed to be communicating and what needs to be coming off our minds, needs to be things correlated to both what you value, but also things that can make sense and apply to that thing. You know what I'm saying? If you're communicating things that are vastly out of pocket and don't make no damn sense, then you already setting yourself up to be looked upon as slow at the moment. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be looked upon as strange. Things that you're trying to get working ain't going to work for you just by having those kind of thoughts or bringing those to the surface with your mind and communicating those things. And anything that's not well thought out isn't going to be well received. So if you're trying to get support, you know what I'm saying, you need to make sure that, okay, I need to communicate this in a way that I thought it out. If it don't sound like you thought it out, then it's going to come out flat. It's going to come out. And also the same thing goes with, if it's got too much excitement behind it, it's not going to be trustworthy. You know what I'm saying? It's got too many emotions behind it. You're not going to be even trusted to handle certain things. So you might talk yourself out of an opportunity by being too eager about it, by talking to too many people about it. Venus is Taurus is an internal earth sign. So you need to talk about it to yourself first before you just go out presenting it. So, keep that in mind if you're trying to do anything business-wise, support, or even relationship, any kind of form, because Mercury is about to jump in that field. So a lot of what's on our mind is going to be centered around what we value, but also, again, things that are either holding us back, that we think we got to rebel against, things that we want to learn more and expand on, that we can start to feel more confident talking about as Mercury catches up to Jupiter, and thinking about things we want to act on. So right now could be a lot of things on your mind, and don't let it make you procrastinate. Don't let it make you stagnant. You know what I'm saying? Keep in mind, and see, luckily the sun is getting itself out of there, so we'll have enough, at least willpower, to want to communicate more. You know what I'm saying? And communication has the opportunity to be really strong if you've really been taking your what you've been trying to, what you value, and you've been really staying steady on it. Communication could do a lot for you, because Gemini season we're going to be trying in Pluto as well, and that energy is also going to be creating its own vortex that we'll talk about when we get to that space. But you know, because that's going to be transformative things, so you're going to have the power to really transform your life if you're speaking the right language at a certain point. And it's going to have a lot to do with who you speaking to, the network you build through that communication, and the individuals who are like-minded with you in that space. That's going to turn into something that, again, can transform your circumstance, or, you know, and again, Pluto's still in retrograde. So through that communication, it's almost like you're investing in relationships. So you're also planting seeds with your mouth. You know what I'm saying? You're like, okay, boom, let me plant this in their ear. Let me plant that in their ear. Little gems here and there. Boom, boom, boom. That stuff is going to sprout later on in the fall time when those relationships are called upon again. You know what I'm saying? And then during that time, I think that's when Pluto probably be in Capricorn, if it ain't go direct yet. Well, I know Pluto is going to go back in Capricorn. So by that time, it'll be whole different things that we can start to build on. A way better rapport, a way better status, that everybody, it's almost like for the last couple of years, if you realize a lot of what we've been trying to do together, right, online and shit like that, the truth of the matter is people just ain't had the funds. But consider the idea that everybody kind of getting on their shit, especially like now, especially early, by that fall time this year, when we dealing with Libra coming back up, and then we got Pluto and Capricorn type shit, it's almost like the people who've been doing what they supposed to do gonna have the actual status and funds to invest the way that they will want to invest, like the past 2 years. You know what I'm saying? So it's like real things can be done at that point, aka investing in land type shit, like investing in this, got the position status to actually get a buzz if we put a show together, like type stuff like that. So, you know, at least that's what I kind of see from the energy, depending on how we, you know, how it all goes. Again, you know, no expectations to it, but that's what it looked like, you know. But right now, yeah, Virgo, moon and Virgo, I got a dip slip, but moon and Virgo, what trine we talked about, yeah, we talked about Taurus, we talked about Aries, we talked about Pisces. I feel like, oh yeah, Mars is Mars in Aries, right? I think Mars is, oh man, I forgot to look at where Mars was at. I want to say Mars is in Aries still. Yeah, I think Mars is in Aries still. So moon in conjunct Mars, that's going to be misunderstanding how to feel about passion. So again, passions are important right now, but there's so much earth energy that it's like we have to be, it's more about being practical than it is about being passionate. You know what I'm saying? But our passions are right there. And a lot of what we can learn from where Mars is at, Mars passing through Capricorn, and not, I said Mars passing through Mars passing through Chiron, or linking up with Chiron again, seeing mistakes that we made with being too aggressive, too passionate, not having enough reality attached to something, not being too off the cuff, too random, too wasteful in energy, all over the place. You know what I'm saying? That'll help you understand more about Mars and more about your own passions to know how to apply it. You know what I'm saying? So when, like, Mars is home, so there's a lot going on with Mars, but if you're applying Mars with the right patience, you're building up a lot of stuff that you can utilize way more powerfully and effectively in the time coming. You know what I'm saying? So that's gonna be some cool energy, especially like when Mars gets into, because like Mars don't like to be in Taurus, but like whenever you take in Mars energy and you're like honing in on something and you're polishing it, I feel like Mars comes out a lot more potent. You know what I'm saying? Mars always got a lot more punch to it. So our passions have had that moment to really solidify. But right now, Mars is happy where it's at. A lot of things ain't even bothering Mars for real, for real. Even yes, like the day before we had Leo, the moon in Leo, trine Mars, but even that would get you more into trouble at the time, just because it's not the time for Mars to just be yapping at the mouth. Mars really need to be in the gym. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to your passion, you really need to just be doing that in its own space and understanding that the part of the process is molding and shaping that passion into something that is substantial. You know what I'm saying? Something that is actually valuable. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can still use that Taurus energy to create value in every area of your life, with every planet, with every aspect of your life. And so passions is one of those things that you could be doing with it right now, versus just being passionate for no reason, or just spraying, kicking off that energy and creating more difficulty for you, when it's a time where we need to kind of be more, again, practical, focused on how we can secure ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Right now would be the most intelligent thing you could do, is take all your passions and turn them into something that is part of the process. You know what I'm saying? So along with everything you got in your life, there's a place for passions. There's a place for those things to be developed. Now, let me see. Yeah, so moon, yeah, we talked about the Pisces space, we talked about the Aries space, Taurus space. Let's see, nothing in Gemini yet. Yeah, last thing I do want to talk about is, so what we could be doing now. So what's going on now versus what's going on in the full moon is Sag, right? So we need to be satisfied in our ability to expand. So right now is like moon and Virgo squares where we could be, right? So there's an opportunity here for us to learn what we need to learn now to be able to set ourselves up for success later on. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like I was talking about, or exactly like I was talking about earlier on. Now, the way we got to go about doing that is by looking at, when it comes to the Virgo energy, going ahead and taking that time to, it's like you're choosing to do the, I don't want to say harder work, but you're taking the time to apply the proper now to set yourself up. You know what I'm saying? You're if you put in the work now, you get to play later type energy. So you want to make sure that you're doing the work now, the things that's kind of harder to do, the things that's less fun to do, the things that you don't necessarily, you know what I'm saying? It's like putting that time and attention into it now, doing like and really like use Virgo to do the boring stuff, but do the boring stuff that's going to set up the process to be easier, or set up the system. You know what I'm saying? So, even if it comes down to doing certain maintenance and stuff like that to the day-to-day things in your life, and your like getting the oil change, getting this done, getting space later on when you want to be free. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not considering that, then when you want to be free, you're not going to be able to be as free, because there's going to be other things that you have to pay attention to and tend to, that take you off of that ride. You know what I'm saying? So your satisfaction energy in that space is not going to be as high as it could be if you actually just did what you were supposed to do now. You know what I'm saying? He said my daughter is a sad son for his house. Mom, she's having a really hard time processing some things that happen. Yeah, I mean, I wonder how old she is. He said third house, 4 degrees. Because the Aquarius moon is kind of similar to that Capricorn moon, because it's Saturn inspired. So it's like early on in life, things kind of lead them to grow up to be a little more detached, because that Aquarius moon and start to, because that's an energy that's like will turn pain into like comedy, kind of like, almost to the point where they don't necessarily want to get too personal, but having a hard time processing things that's happened. Like, yeah, she's a 7, her dad left her, not spoken. Yeah, Damn, that's rough. You know what I'm saying? I feel you. Best thing you could do for her though is you know, continue to be her friend. You know what I'm saying? Aquarius moon, Sag sun, they need somebody. Aquarius moon in general, they need you to feel like they friend. You know what I'm saying? It's like with any air moon, communication is the key. And you know, she might not even know how to have those conversations. You might not know how to have those conversations with her, but it's really about being, you know, being her friend. That's going to help her learn how to process her emotions in a way that, in a more healthy way. Because as an Aquarius moon, like I said, you go through enough things that can make you detached from feelings. So you know, but if she had a friend going through this experience where like you presented yourself as her friend, you know, it's like she'll at least have something to kind of grow from that. You know, she just started talking about it out there. Yeah, make sure that you talk with her. Don't be afraid to have those conversations with her, because if you shy away from having those conversations, that Aquarius will start to low-key judge. Like, they'll start to feel like there's just not conversations they can have with you, and they'll put you in a box. You know, she's young enough to where if you know, are willing to have those conversations with her, she'll be able to process them in a much better way. He said it's a transformation. Yeah, real shit. Yeah, shout out to y'all, man. I wish the best for y'all. Especially with a Sag sun. Sag sun too, they like to go through an experience with you. So if you could talk to her in a way and y'all sharing that experience, that'll create that bond between y'all, and that'll make y'all closer in the long run. And then especially as a child. 7 also is the age where you start to be a little more independent and more you know, it's like you start to kind of think a little bit more, you know what I'm saying, about what's going on around you. A lot more independent. But Scorpio rising. So yeah, transformation, real talk. Okay, yeah, I'm a Scorpio rising too. So especially that, because a Scorpio rising will grow up to not want to tell nobody nothing just based upon people not being there. Real shit. But if you there where she gonna y'all bond gonna be like this. But continuing on, like I was saying, so really it's about doing the work and make sure you stay consistent in that area. You know, be more, try to be a more responsible. That's the key word right now. Be responsible for what it is you trying to bring into your life. And the more you can be responsible and show up for yourself in that regard, the easier to become, or the better chance you have of having a full moon experience. Is more satisfaction based. That's more like y'all on the same ride, you know what I'm saying, where with your experience, and you'll be able to actually expand. You'll feel expansive in that area, and you'll feel like you'll have a lot more room to travel, whether mentally or actually physically. You just being in a better circumstance. But it's all about you being responsible and accountable right now. Everything you got going on for you, everything you working on, take that shit as, you know, take it serious, you know what I'm saying? And that way you can actually, he said, Cat Rise, and all I am is responding real shit. Real shit. And understand that fun is coming, you know what I'm saying? Fun is coming, because that's that full moon energy. It'll be actually you able to have fun. But if you're not responsible right now, things will slip through the cracks and you'll be stressing around that time, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I gotta dip out on real late. But anyway, much love. Thank y'all all for coming through, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.